Hello everybody, this is Loci WayOfLoci and welcome to the No Hit Podcast. Here it is my job to interview the extraordinary people in gaming, the hitless runners who beat difficult games without taking a single hit or point of damage, speedrunners completing games in mere minutes that would normally take hours, or those who have finished games completely blindfolded, or the amazing content creators and developers out there producing the engaging and entertaining content and games that we all enjoy. Today's guest is Zoodle, that's Zoodle on YouTube, Twitch and Twitter. This is round 2 with Zoodle, having appeared on the podcast before, more than 3 years ago. But for those who are not aware, Zoodle is a gaming challenge runner having experience in speedrunning, Hitless, having completed many game runs from Software No Hit, and since we last spoke, got heavily into Randomizer runs, especially Elden Ring, having hosted his own events called Randomania, with the last incredible event raising over $10,000 for charity. In this conversation we go into what goes into making such an event, the last one including over 30 gamers and 14 different gaming runs, what makes great commentary, and Zoodle's experience across several events, Randomizer runs, and the new bounty club that's been set up, and much, much more. I hope you enjoy this conversation with Zoodle. Right, Zoodle, thanks very much for taking the time to come on the podcast today. It has been a touch bit of a while. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine. Thanks for having me, man. It's been way too long. We haven't talked for 3 years.
Yeah.
And I just got a DM from Loki and was like, hey, Zoodle, remember me?
Pretty much.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
Yeah, just like random ask. I know this might seem similar because it was the last question I asked you in this chat, but do you fancy?
Yeah.
An even weirder way I'm going to start, not weirder way I'm going to start, but when we last talked, Elden Ring wasn't even out. And
True.
That is such a big thing of stuff that we're going to discuss today, and sort of a big thing of the sort of content or streams or stuff that's going on in like the spaces we work as well. So that's mad in terms of what's changed since then.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, when during that first year, or maybe going a bit further, did you have a thought of how much stuff would center around and be made on Elden Ring? Because stuff, mods, challenges, events, communities are still being built today. One that we're going to talk about of yours just recently is still being done today. Did you have an idea of that when it first came out, or has it just been a slow progress thing?
Not really. I think before or while it came out, I feel like Souls was already big, like the whole community, because Sekiro did really well for FromSoft. So I was like expecting that a bunch of people's gonna play it, right? Mm-hmm. But then when Elden Ring hit, so many new people started to play it. And I was not expecting that so many people getting introduced into the whole FromSoft series with Elden Ring. So I thought like they probably gonna, release a DLC half a year later, and then it's gonna be like Dark Souls 1 or Dark Souls 3, and it's gonna be niche again. But I feel like even up to date now, so many people doing their first playthrough and playing this game that are not part of a niche community, which is really, really cool. So I was not expecting that at all.
So I think the open world accessibility of Elden Ring, the fact that you can, it's unlike a linear game like Dark Souls 3 in some cases, where there can be a certain boss right in your way, you've got no choice but to get good, to use the phrase. But Elden Ring, there's so much space to, okay, this boss is causing an issue, just go off, find a random catacomb, go back, and you might have an easier time with it.
Yeah, there's also so much to miss, right? I mean, when I did my first playthrough, I did not find Astel and I didn't even find Volcano Manor. Like I fought Rykard, but I didn't find Volcano Manor. So there's so much to miss as well. There's so much content. And I think that's mainly the reason, especially also with the randomizer mods and conversion mod, right? There is so much content with this game, especially with the randomizer, that Elden Ring is as alive as it is nowadays. I mean, of course, we got now the DLC half a year ago. Yeah. And now Night Rain is ahead, so who knows how that's gonna be. Did you play the
I wanted to, but I didn't get a key, unfortunately. They didn't like me.
Oh, I see. I didn't apply for a key because I was too lazy to set up my PS5.
Oh, fair. All I heard from like the first day was menu experience.
Exactly, yeah. No one was able to play it. And then second and third was much better, but there were still so many people that couldn't play it with a code. So, yeah. But yeah, who knows? I watched a little bit, and it seemed like it is definitely a standalone, and it's gonna get a lot of content, but we'll see, I guess, how it's gonna turn out.
Yeah, I'm interested in how long they're going to keep with it, because
Yeah.
I just think there's so much opportunity with it. I've spoken to a couple of people about this, the fact that it's a non-canon world, and I feel that's the strongest aspect of it, that From Software could do whatever they want with it, drop any sort of boss from any sort of other game DLC in it. Like, I've been thinking like Ivory Knight from DS2 DLC, just drop in there, Demon Princes from or make specific maps from previous games, just drop in there.
I was not even thinking about that. That would be so cool. Like having Majula or whatever, like from Dark Souls 2.
I was thinking like a Ring City map, just to drop into. Be great.
That would be cool. So that's the thing. Like, I think so. They already announced that there will be DLC maps. So there's definitely content already planned.
Yep.
I'm just worried with how much it's actually gonna change, because they said the building's gonna be moved left and right, but like how much does it really change if the tower is left or if the tower is right? Doesn't really matter, right? But I hope I'm worried. I think the most that this game is really only good if you know Elden Ring. So like I feel like that Night Rain maybe does not attract many new people. Just like now Elden Ring actually did, right? What we just talked about. I think Night Rain is really more for the people that already played Elden Ring. But who knows?
I would agree.
Yeah,
I'd agree. I think it's a lot of the initial trailer, I think everyone who knew Elden Ring was hype, and maybe people who just saw it was going, okay, cool, flying dragon boss on a night, he seems cool, whilst From Software fans like losing their mind over the Nameless King in it. Yeah. I can agree on that side. It's going to be interesting. I've got many thoughts on it, but I don't think we've got enough information until it comes out, which is only in a couple of months in fairness, so we're not going to be waiting long.
Yeah, end of May, right? Like 4 months?
Yeah,
3
not
months,
long
4
at
months.
all.
Yeah, that's cool. I've heard from people playing that, for example, Centipede felt like they literally just took Centipede from Dark Souls 1, didn't change it much, and just dropped them in.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, then it's not going to be too great, I guess. I don't know, with the hitboxes and everything. But I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
And the fact it's a lot faster movement in Elden Ring compared to, what Dark Souls was.
Yeah. True.
Okay, we've got... I had 2 things I wanted to bounce off there. One was the randomizer, one was the DLC. We'll go progression-wise. So we'll go DLC first. How was that going into, let's say after such a long wait?
I feel like... So I was kind of hyped, right, before with the trailers and everything. But like, you know how Miyazaki is dropping casually. Yeah, it's big as Limgrave, and not more.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was like expecting, okay, maybe it's more like dense and everything. And then, of course, he was just like lying. And it's just so big and it was so much. I played it fairly quick. I think I found all bosses in my first playthrough. And I had like 40 hours or so. Not like Banjo that currently or just recently finished his 1,000 hour DLC.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But yeah, no, I think the DLC is absolutely great. They did a really, really good job. There's obviously a few things, or many things actually, I do not really like. It was very lore centered, I would say, but I think they did a really, really, really good job. I think they planned to do 2 DLCs, right, at the beginning, and then they canceled that and just made one big one.
I think I've read something like that, but I don't know what the source would have been, but I have read that sort of same thing.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I think I've heard that in like 2022 they were planning to release like half of a DLC or whatever, and then another one. But yeah, that took 2 years. I think, is it fair 2 years for that DLC? I think it is. It's big enough.
That's it, yeah.
Gives a lot of content. Yeah, honestly, when it came out, I didn't play anything else than the DLC for like 2 months. Like nothing else. What was your favorite boss from the DLC?
Ooh, my favorite when I played through it was Bale. After learning some of the bosses' movesets a bit more, because I learned some of them hitless. I think Mesmer's took the one because I just really liked learning his moveset and learning him as a boss.
Yeah. I had that too. Like when I did my first playthrough, I hated Bale because I did my entire playthrough with the Starfist and I just couldn't hit him.
Oh, okay.
Just couldn't hit him because of range and hitbox and everything. Yeah, it's horrible. I think my favorite was actually surprisingly Sunflower, the Scado avatar.
Oh, okay.
Really enjoyed like that it's like not a humanoid boss and it's a monster. But by now it's changed. Like definitely, yeah, Mesmer's really, really cool. Meteor is absolute trash. I cannot believe that anyone in this FromSoft quarter signed that as okay. But they introduced, I think the worst about the DLC, and I think we both agree on that, is the NPCs, the NPC bosses and the amount of NPC bosses, right? Like, what's your take on that?
They're not my favorite. I'd say I enjoyed as I was going into it and going, okay, this is cool. This is a new, not what's been in like Elden Ring. This is a cool one. But then there was like another one, and then later wrecked me for like so long, and I was just like, oh, they could have like lessened this a bit.
Yeah, I agree. No, I think Dragon Man, for example, is an amazing NPC boss.
I like
but then you have like Dancer of Rana, who's like input reading like a god, whatever
rolls
you do.
at anything, any touch a button, and it's rolling away.
So bad, yeah. And then of course I do not understand. Like Ladder is not a boss; it's mandatory to beat the game, and I guess that's why I said at the beginning it was very lore centered, because the idea of having a clash with like 3 NPCs versus another 3, right, with 2 NPCs is cool. It's like a battle, right? But like for the sake of challenge running and speed running, it's so bad.
I've seen some of the prep or what people have had to do in order to, I mean, when I first play it, as I always do with these games, I'm just like, wow, I can see this being impossible or super difficult for any sort of hitless run. So it's like, Ladle's like near the top of my list. After Consort Radahn, because that was when he still had his absolute garbage frame trapping double slash attack.
Yeah, thank God they changed that. They had to. I don't know what. Yeah, maybe it was never planned. It was either never planned or they underestimated it. I don't know.
I'm just interested in how like the QA people must be gods. Like if they were managing to do that boss fine without like not bringing up that frame trapping attack. So they must have been dodging it in a different way than we all did.
Yeah, true. They were playing with cheat engine.
True. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is a thought that has crossed my mind several times. Like there's some incredible challenge runners that showcase runs on YouTube, on Twitch, streaming videos and all this. But I've always been interested in the people who have played these bosses when they've had to be toned down. Like, how were the bosses before when the QAs are testing them and going, okay, this is a bit too extra? Or they've beaten them when they've gone a bit extra. Must be so different experience.
Yeah, I wonder if... I'm pretty sure they changed it because they listened to the community, because of like everyone was complaining about this. I think they did also some other changes on the light attacks, right? But that cross attack was just... I think I've heard someone say that, and that was I think the best explanation for me why that attack is bad is because you are forced the entire fight to strafe around him.
Yeah.
Because you never know when it's happening, and that ruins the entire fight. And it's true, like you were doing nothing else than strafing left or right around him just to dodge that attack, right? And now you at least can be wherever you are and just still dodge it, which is great. So I think that they changed it is amazing, honestly. And
I did want to go into or bring up at least Elden Ring DLC and go have a little backing of that, because a lot of the stuff we're going to go into now is built off that game and the stuff we just talked about. And the first one I want to go into is a general look at randomizers first before we go specific. And I guess my first question is, there's several reasons to like randomizers, but particularly for you, what is the appeal of a randomizer or an Elden Ring randomizer, to be specific?
It's pretty big for me because I think in 2023 I started doing a lot of Elden Ring and a lot of randomizer, because in 2022 I started right after my first playthrough with Hitless of the vanilla game, and it got to a point where I was like grinding it and I just didn't enjoy it anymore, and I even hated playing the game. And then I stopped doing it, and I did Dark Souls 1 randomizer hitless, just item randomizer, but it was so much fun. And then at some point, I think 2023, the Fogate randomizer came out from Matt for Elden Ring. So I went back to Elden Ring to do more randomizer, and Elden Ring itself is so great because of the amount of items and enemies and boss fights. I mean, now we have 207 bosses, right?
Yep.
And I think since then, I basically only do randomizer. I haven't touched vanilla in 2 years now, and I play Elden Ring every day, just randomizer. And I just love, I think with my ADHD brain, having roguelikes is my favorite type of game. Like just having every time a new run. Like recently I've been grinding Balatro every day because it's just like every time something else. And it's the same with the randomizer. Yeah, Elden Ring just becomes a roguelike where you can make some sorts of different challenges and rando races and even no hit and stuff like that. But like every time it's different, and that's just great to me. Like I love that. So I've now I think 2,700 hours in Elden Ring, and pretty much 2,000 hours just randomizer. Yeah.
And with a randomizer, you've got to build up such a breadth of knowledge, more so than in a casual or even I'd say Hitless can be potentially less than a casual playthrough, because Hitless is basically you learn a set route with set items, but you get dropped into a randomizer, and you like the first 30 items you pick up you may never have seen before in your playthrough.
Yeah. True. And then also the weapons, right? Like many weapons you've never played with, you start playing with because you can't find anything else. And another big thing about Randomizer is that bosses react different in different arenas. So at some point I started to learn, like when I get certain boss, I like, let's say a fire giant in an Everjail, then I already know where to position myself to not die in there, right? Or something like that. So this is a big aspect of the randomizer, which makes it a lot of fun because it gives so much more variety with like how to fight the bosses. With the weapons and everything. And
you're meeting the bosses in a different stage of the run than you may otherwise be. For instance, at the end game, you might be overpowered, you may not be, but likely you've got a pretty strong build going on and you can fight some of those harder bosses near the end. But if that one appears sooner and you've got much less health, say you fight Malekith and he's taking up Godric space, then it might be a bit of a trickier time if you're not as well
we
prepared.
all had Malenia's Market.
There you go.
But like also the other way around, there's some bosses that are usually early game, right, and easy, but if you get them late game with a lot of HP and a lot of damage, it's brutal. Like for example, the demi-human chief duo with all these demi-human ads, and there are two of them. They are so fast and they deal so much damage when you get them, for example, as Fire Giant or whatever. It's crazy how some bosses that are usually early spike up in difficulty, which is cool, which makes it also interesting.
And that appeal, is that different then? Because I'm going to bring up your Grando Run, which if you care to explain what the Grando Run is for your run or your stream.
Yeah, so Grando is basically, so I've saw others, I think Domo was it first, Captain Domo, and then did see someone else doing, I was thinking about that for a long time actually. It's basically Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3 in Elden Ring. All games are randomized and it's a marathon permadeath run. And whenever you die in one of the, let's say I finished Dark Souls 1 and then I finished Dark Souls 2 and I would die in Dark Souls 3, then I have to restart at the beginning. Key items were not randomized to make it all a bit more consistent, at least for me. And I personally did then, just for jokes and lulz and for fun, I added Minecraft as well and Balatro because I love playing it to the Grando Run as well. As in, like, you know, when Minecraft is like the world is always randomized, and in Balatro all the cards are and whatever you get is randomized. And I've been taking a break from that actually because I even removed Dark Souls 1 from my Grando Run because the mod is so inconsistent with you have no scaling on enemies. That means a DLC boss or enemy is as strong as in the DLC. And,
oh, right. Okay. Wow.
Yeah. And you get all the time DLC enemies everywhere. It's horrible. And some other things, like, for example, 4 Kings, some bosses are just invisible. They just don't, they are there and they're attacking you, but you don't see them. Or what was one crucial thing why I removed Dark Souls 1 from that run was also Nito, because of these skeletons, right? And Gwyn, I had Gwyn once in there, and Gwyn is so fast, he kills the skeletons. So you can kill them with a faith weapon or whatsoever. So they stand up every single time when they, after a while, right? Skeletons revive, unless you use a holy weapon. So Gwyn kills them all the time, and Gwyn is for you also way too fast, so you can deal with all the skeletons and with Gwyn at the same time. Just made it horrible, so I removed it from the Grando Run. And similar also with Dark Souls 2, the randomizer is rough, but not because of the randomizer thing, more of the game, where you have scaling, but like some enemies, like these horses from the third DLC, if you get them everywhere, it's just horrible. Or like if you have this one boss, the skeleton lords, that are usually 3 skeletons. When you kill one skeleton lord, then skeletons appear. And in Randomizer, you have 3 different bosses in there at the same time. Could be Ivory King, Smelter Demon, and Dragon Rider. And when you kill one of them, then a bunch of different enemies appear. Could be the horses from the DLC or an undead, whatsoever, which made everything very inconsistent. But pretty much like Randomizer and Permadeath. That's the Grando Run, yeah.
With these randomizers, I think a thing to let people know is there is the one that comes to mind is because one of used most recently is the Elden Ring one, and there is so much variation within the mod itself of what you can select to be changed, to be varied. You can have literally everything be changed, or you can have major items like great runes or key items are in the same place. There is a lot of variation. Yeah. What would you recommend to someone who wanted to try their first rando? They've done a casual playthrough, they've seen on stream, hey, this looks like fun. What would you recommend as a starting out rando settings, quote unquote?
I think the best would be key items randomized with other key items with major bosses and merchants. That would mean that something like the Great Runes or the Rusty Key from Limgrave would appear at other vanilla key items like the Rusty Key spot. And major bosses is, for example, Market and Godric in Limgrave. And merchants, obviously, like all the merchants you can find. I think that one is really, really comfortable. And I would say probably 3 to 4 Great Runes to enter mountaintops. So Leyendell is open. You don't need Great Runes to enter Leyendell. Or what you can also do is 2 Great Runes for Leyendell and then 3 for mountaintops. I personally don't like randomizing the robe medallion that is usually needed to enter mountaintops. I like locking it behind Great Runes. That is, personally, I think it's more fun because you have 7 Great Runes, and if you only need 3, it's easier than if you need 1 robe medallion, and it could be anywhere, basically. And bias on 0%, so it's just could be literally everywhere as well. I enjoy that because some people like to put some bias in it that creates a chain that makes it so a Great Rune is less likely to be at a Dectus half medallion and more likely behind some chains. Like, for example, Godric, you have to kill Margit first, so that's automatically a chain, right? Yep. I personally like it more 0%, so it could be anywhere. And then, I think that's pretty much it. I would definitely remove if you include the DLC, I would remove the Aging Untouchable entirely from the randomization because if you have them anywhere, then you're pretty much dead unless you have a parry shield. Because they can even port, even if you run away from them, you go into a boss fight, they teleport into the boss fight.
Yeah, they're very persistent.
yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I think that's the best, yeah. And then probably DLC and base game key items separate from each other. So you don't start to find a lot of Scatter Tree blessings, which you don't need. You will find all Great Runes in the base game. That is, I mean, there's so much, as you said, there's so much possible. You can also all mix it, right? Or make it even, which is also cool, 7 Great Runes, so all 7 to enter the last boss. Yep. So you basically open up Leyendell with 0 and mountaintops with 0, and you have to find first all 7 Great Runes to enter Radagon Elden Beast, which is also cool.
But that's a hefty chunk of time for runs to find everything.
Yeah. I mean, again, this depends on the settings, right? If you have only major bosses, vanilla key items, and maybe merchants, it's fine. If you add, personally, I'm not the biggest fan, but if you add golden sea trees and secretaries, then you add a lot of looting into these areas, right? To all these golden seeds and everything. Then it can chunk up. But yeah, I think but if you only do major vanilla key items and major bosses as for your key items, I think an average all bosses run was around, I would say, 16 to 20 hours. Killing all bosses, all 207.
Yeah.
So it's yeah, you need some time. Any percent is quick. We did random races, right? There's another type of thing with the randomizers, which is amazing. So it's basically 3, 2, 5, 10 people, however you want, have all the same seed. Everyone starts at the same time, and whoever finishes with the any percent, so with beating Radagon Elden Beast first wins. And with our settings we had, we did merchants, vanilla cat, and major bosses. I think my average on finishing the run was 2 hours.
Which is near enough a speed run with a game as big as Elden Ring, really, and being able to do randomize as well.
Yeah, exactly. It's dude, Random Races is so much fun. I really recommend it for everyone. Like, if you have friends or whatsoever, or like even for yourself solo, just randomize a game and try to finish it as quick as possible. Is a lot of fun.
I feel it was like a community, like it was a community thing for a while before, like for a good while before the DLC, and then the DLC came out, everyone focused on that. Then there's a couple more things. I feel there's a lull at the moment, but I feel that's gonna have a resurgence at some point of like the whole community. Everyone's doing it every other week or so.
There were some. I mean, of course. I mean, I had the Randomania event, my first one, the tournament in February 2024, and for that, before and also after, we did random races. But even like when the randomizer came out, I think there was already in 2022 people already started doing like random races, and I think since then there were always like fewer small, friend groups just did random races with each other. Not like a big community, I would say, but like, just friend groups.
I want to have before we shift over, because I want to go into Randomania, but I want to take a step just off the randomizer that we were just talking about, because another one of the runs that you're doing in the minute is Randomizer no hits. But did want to query, just because, like I said, it's been a good few years since we last spoke, and in that last conversation, we mainly spoke about no hit runs like Hitless and the runs you've done in the original series before Elden Ring came out. And obviously, correct me if I'm wrong, you seem to shift away from Hitless. Obviously, you did the Elden Ring. Was it that Elden Ring experience that moved away more into randos or other challenge runs, or any other reason?
Yeah, definitely. It was when we talked the last time, I already started, like, I did a lot of Hitless, and I created my community I had back then all around Hitless, my content. And with Elden Ring, as I started, like, I got a little bit tired of it because it was stressful after, full day of work of 8 hours working and coming home and then being super, super tired, and then doing somehow 3 hours of Hitless was just really exhausting. And that's why I changed away from it, kind of. I mean, I did the Dark Souls 1 randomizer Hitless right after, but it was different because of the randomizer. And then at some point, I just started not doing Hitless runs anymore, because I was able, with the randomizer and permadeath, to just focus on having, I would say, more fun for myself. It was just really relaxing being able to just, it's still a challenge with permadeath, but like, not like after every hit you have to reset, and just start over. You can just keep going and have fun with it. And I haven't really touched Hitless since then, actually, since mid 2022. I think I did one for fun in Dark Souls 1 in 2023, but yeah, I mainly focused on permadeath and randomizer, and I just now came back to Hitless, actually, but it's rando Hitless again, not vanilla. But it's I focused a lot on not doing Hitless, and it was really, really refreshing just to be able to enjoy these games in a different way.
I done something similar, so I took a break from pretty much everything. That's why I was away, and people who've seen the podcast playlist have seen there's like a 3-year gap between like episode 29 and 30. But I took a break for a couple of years, and when I've come back to, and only just recently, like streaming, doing runs, I've enjoyed doing more casual challenge runs, not Hitless. And I don't know if it might be the same for you, but at least for me, the act of doing, say, a runeless run or a low or a weapon particular run, it feels nice in the sense that after I've completed it, I have something there. Whilst at aspects of time, I'll say I still love doing Hitless, and I enjoyed it. There were aspects of times when I was doing those runs where it was like 3 days have gone by of bad runs, and it just feels like that time's just turned to dust because there's nothing got out of it, quote unquote.
Yeah, I think for me it was more, I mean, I think back then when I did Hitless, I mainly did the because it was my content, right? So I tried I always try to be rather a streamer than a no-hit runner, if that makes sense. And I couldn't attract any viewership if I have done anything else in Hitless. That's why I was stuck in Hitless and was doing Hitless all the time, even when I didn't enjoyed it. And there was like one point in 2022 where it was really, really rough for me. And I just was actually really close in stopping streaming entirely. And then I took a break of 2 weeks and was like thinking about it and was like, nah, I'm just going to do whatever I want, just fuck Elden Ring and do something else. And that's why I went because back then I thought I have to stream Elden Ring to attract any viewers. There's no way anyone's going to watch me when I do Dark Souls 1, right? So, but I went back to Dark Souls 1 because I was like, that's what I want to do. So I'm just going to do it. And it worked out so well. Like I attracted many more views, like average I've never had before, like 40, 50. Before that, it was like 15 to 20. And that showed me that if I do what I really enjoy, I enjoy it more. People that watching enjoy it more. So I focus on my content being what I enjoy doing instead of finishing challenge runs to show off what I finished. And with this mentality, I was even able to start lots of challenge runs and never finish them because at some point I was like, I'm exhausted from this. I don't like it. I just move on. And it feels really, really, really good because like at the beginning, I had always this feeling of like whatever I start, I have to finish. But that was really, really, it was toxic to a certain point because it's just, you should really just do what you enjoy, especially when it's about playing games and whatever, and not force yourself into doing something. So for me personally, being able to just say, you know what, I don't enjoy this, I do something else, and seeing also my community being like, yeah, you know what, that's cool. Otherwise we wouldn't enjoy watching anyways. I was just able to focus rather on my content and being fun than doing any challenge runs. Even though it was challenge runs still, just not hitless, but still it was much more enjoyable to do anything. Yeah.
And from that, I think I want to go into something you brought up a second ago, but would you be able to explain to someone who may not have seen them from the start, not the most recent event, because we'll come into that, but where did Randomania come from, and could you explain what it is?
So Randomania is basically, I had 3 different Randomania events. The first was a tournament of just a weekend. The second was a entire league of multiple weeks of rando races. And the third is, a bigger event. And Randomania started because I was in Bingo Brawlers from Captain Domo. I was commentating in the first season and I was playing in the second season, and I loved commentating. I have so much fun with commentating, and I just wanted to commentate something. So I was like, I'm just going to do my own event. So I did that Randomania Cup, I called it, which was a bunch of FromSoft streamers like Gino and Blueberry Brioche and Ain Run and whatnot. And they all have done like rando races, basically. It's like, it was just a 2-day event of, I think, 3 races in total. And I did a little bit of a prize pool, nothing big. And that was basically that event. And then the second was Randomania League. Here, once again, I just wanted to commentate something. And I wanted to do something bigger than the cup because the cup was just 1 weekend, 2 days. And I was like, I want to do this more. So I'm also doing a league. And for that league, which was then, I think, a whole month full of weekends of rando races, of just the DLC, because it was last year after the DLC came out. It was rando races only within the DLC. Here, once again, focusing, I just wanted to have like a cool event where I can commentate and have fun, right? And that one, I did a open prize pool. So basically people can donate and subscribe and bits, and everything I've earned through Twitch, basically I put into the prize pool at the end. And we reached like, I think $3,000. And I was like, dude, so many people with so much money, and like so many people supported this event, right? And I was like thinking, especially with Randomizer, it feels a little bit bad actually to give someone who wins money because it's so much RNG, right? Like it is, we try to make it as fair as possible, but you cannot make it to 100% fair, right? Because one random race has maybe easier bosses than the others, and you can, control that. So I was like thinking, if the support is so huge, then we should do it for a good cause. And that's why I did the Randomania Charity Cup. Like while Randomania League was happening in September, I was already starting to planning that Charity Cup. That was a 3-day event of like the entire day of different games: Dark Souls, Hollow Shovel Knight, Ocarina of Time, Elden Ring, everything, with like, I think 30 different creators doing random races for a good cause for a charity organization called Games for Love that raises money to create sustainable futures for children that are sick in hospitals. They bring, for example, consoles and whatnot for kids in hospitals. It's a really, really nice charity organization. Like I had a meeting with the CEO and it's a really nice guy. And just the league, like basically from the cup, I went over to the league just to have more content for me and having fun commentating, and then realizing, hey, we can do this for a good cause. And then in these 3 days of Randomania, the charity cup in winter, we raised more than $14,000 for the children.
So mad. It was so blast watching it.
That is we did incentives up to $5,000. We hoped to get $5,000 in those 3 days, and we reached 6,000 on the first day. And that was absolutely mind-blowing. Absolutely mind-blowing. And that just showed me that I want to do more of these events in the future, but always for a good cause, because that makes the most sense to me.
Yeah, so, I remember from like during that first day or into the second day of the good panic of going, okay, we need to come up with new incentives, need to come up with more stuff.
We need more incentives, guys. We need ideas. It was really like that. I had some ideas, but it was really mind-blowing how supportive the community was, the entire community of all these streamers, right, that came together. Yeah. And we started planning already the next event for the summer. And we're trying to do another charity event, again, Randomania, but this time it's just planned. We have nothing fixed yet because it's going to be expensive, but we're planning on doing an IRL event. We want to rent like a house where we can like setups with cameras and whatnot, and then just do like Randomania, but just in person with a bunch of people. And I hope that's going to work out. If not, then we're just going to do it like the last one, just from home.
But it's like the progression kind of thing, just like, hey, this can be like the dream setup eventually. It may or may not be the next one, we cross fingers, but eventually that could be something great. It could be.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, honestly, I don't really think of Randomania and this event anymore where I'm like, I want to grow with it. Right now, I'm more like thinking about it. I have a bunch of friends that love randomizers and playing these games. Let's come all together and have fun playing these games without any prize pool, without like, of course, there's in a race, there's always a winner, but more of like, hey, let's still do it for a good cause. So my focus is really the charity behind it, since I think that is, how do I say it? It's I feel like the best I can do with these type of with the people I know and with the exposure I have and with everything. I think that's the best thing you can do out of it. Yeah.
I want to go into, which some people may be the more quote unquote boring side, but I'm interested in, for someone who has little to no experience in organising such events. As you mentioned, there were over 30 runners. This took place over 3 days, and I was looking through, there was over at least or more 14 different game races going on during those three days. What goes into organising and scheduling that sort of event? What issues may people not be aware of when organising such an event?
Yeah, so it is a lot. Like I've planned the event for like 3 to 4 months, even though it was just the 3-day event. And the first, I think the biggest problem about it is, who do I invite? And then inviting all these people, scheduling them with the time zones, because everyone's around the world, right? Some are in the EU, some from the States. And then also, what if someone out of the sudden doesn't have time? How do we compensate that? And I think the scheduling was the biggest problem. So what I did at the beginning, I was just like asking everyone who would be interested, and then form somewhat of a schedule. And thankfully it worked out really well. We did had a couple of changes while the event even was happening, because just, it happens, like someone just didn't have time out of the sudden, then we filled it up with someone else, so having a little bit of a backup. But then it's not like, this is, I think, the biggest part, and the most problematic part is the scheduling. But then there's so much more. I've planned the overlays. How does it look like for multiple weeks, right? So it like looks perfect. I had another, like this is one person. Then I talked to another person that made just the logo. Then I talked to a third person that just made the website. And then I talked to, I think 5, 6, 7 other people that did help me on that day organizing the people, right? The people that go into that all the runners are at set time in their channels and know what they have to do and whatsoever. And then I had another people that organize in the background the overlays while changing live. So it is a lot of like I organized 30 different players, but also then 10 others, just staff team in the background. And what is really nice that then I had another person that made a trailer and so on. I'm very thankful for everyone that participated and helped me with everything, because most people did it for free. They didn't wanted to see any money. They were just there for the cause, which I'm super glad for, because that way we were able to raise so much money for the kids at the end. And that was also a big reason why I was even able to, that everything looks how it looks like, right? Because otherwise I would have been maybe not able to afford everything, right? So organizing is I think most people think like, 2-3 weeks and then you have an event like that, but at the end it's actually like months of planning. I mean, look, we're planning now the summer event for already a month. It's which hopefully takes place in like July and whatsoever. And right now our biggest problem is finding a location, and we're doing that now, so we can like set a location, and then we go over to the next step is maybe who is invited and do they have time, right?
Yeah.
And and so on. It's a lot.
Yeah, I have a tiny modicum of idea just of scheduling with a singular guest from all over the world. So I can't even imagine how it is like with 30 more, considering staff as well, not staff, but like volunteers and people who help him with the project as well. Like having to manage all of that, or at least organizing as a team. Like in order to do that, I bet there was several Google Sheets or notes taking going on.
Yeah, definitely. We had a lot. Yeah, but honestly, also just one person. I mean, look at me. We planned this last week, and then out of the blue, I say, "Hey, bro, I can't take and remove it." So thank you for that, by the way. But yeah, the more people obviously are included, the more. I also realized in that event that it was so much I couldn't do everything alone. Like I had to give work to like other people that took care of other things. Like for example, on the first Randomania, we also had like a ref team and whatnot, but I did a lot of things alone, where I was like, okay, come here into this channel so I can drag you and whatnot. And with the league already, because it was more, I already invited more people, but definitely for the Randomania charity event, to make it as professional and as well as smooth as possible, the more people are that working in it, the easier and better it gets, right? Yeah, it's a lot of work, definitely.
And I should know for people who have not checked out the event, but I do recommend looking at the highlights on the channel. Sorry, I just got a flashback to the Twitch. Have you had experience? Like, have you got the issue with the Twitch highlight stuff that's going on at the minute? Not to defer the conversation, but that just crossed my mind of stuff that's going to get erased. That's not going to be okay. Anyway, I don't want to go into that. But
no. I mean, we can honestly, because like, I had 340 videos of highlight. I like 340 hours. I mean, and which is actually not a lot, because I've heard like other people had like up to, what was it?
Thousands of hours.
Yeah, thousands of hours, like 5,000 or whatnot. So all of that was it was fine for me. I was able to delete a lot of things, because many of this was like super old no-hit ones I already had on YouTube. So it's like whatever, right? But I don't know why they thought that's a good idea. I'm not sure.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry, people listening, totally left field track that. At the current time, it may change, but cross fingers it change. Twitch has implemented a thing, so highlighted content from people's VODs or the video on demand, basically the streams, is being limited at a certain number of hours per creator. So now everyone who has highlights or stream recordings greater than that has now got to be deleted. And the reason why it just popped into my mind is because I have recommended checking checking out guests' stuff, especially like they've got highlighted stuff from years ago when they've done cool stuff. But it just crossed my mind then that some of the stuff that I've recommended is now going to be gone or at least moved. So sorry for the sidetrack.
I mean, what do you do? I mean, it was just recently, right? I mean, it came out of the blue. I don't know. It's just, you know what the funniest thing about this is that half of speedrun.com will be entries of like no videos because like everyone's using Twitch VOD, right?
Yeah, definitely.
It's a little bit funny, but yeah, it is what it is. I actually, you know what? That thought of you made me just realize that I forgot to highlight the charity cup. It's all gone.
Yeah,
I didn't record it, and it's just it's fine, whatever. Okay, go ahead.
It's fine. There's a big one coming this year. It's fine. It's
exactly. It's fine.
Yeah, before we move on to something else, but I did want to mention I really did appreciate those overlays you had for the event. They looked really great, even though they're now dust in the wind. They were really good. Just on events, one more, because you've been in events for a good while. In terms of, like, when we last spoke, it was to do with like Team Hitless, and then just on your own channel, going through like the YouTube stuff you've done, not just the Randomania stuff, but also quizzes, the Soul Guesser. Is there something about hosting or commentary that is a big appeal? We talked a little bit about commentary, which I do want to ask a bit more about, but just sticking with like hosting or creating events, is there something specific that like scratches your own itch kind of thing?
Yeah, it's because I like to be funny, and I get huge anxiety when it comes to performing. So like playing in Bingo Brawlers in season 3 or season 2, or even in Zero Hit League from the Happy Hop, it's been always like I have so much anxiety because it's like this, you know, on point, you need to perform now, and it's just so stressful. While when I commentate or host something, I can just sit there, relax, watch something, and talk shit and have a lot of fun. And my personality is more like a little bit of a, you know, I rather like to have to do some jokes instead of play really well on point, right? So I just really enjoy hosting or commentating in general is so much fun to me because of that reason. Yeah.
What do you think makes great? Because I, from personal viewer's perspective, I think your commentary as a pair with Domo in the Bingo Brawls event is like top-notch great stuff. And obviously an aspect of that is because you've done that with Domo for so long. Obviously you've got that chemistry from having quote-unquote work together, right? for so many years, for years at this point. But what would you say makes good commentary?
I think feeling comfortable is one thing, but I think good commentary is when you be able to bounce a ball back and forth. So like, for example, I think season 4, like in season 1 of Bingo Brawlers, it was more like that I did the jokes and Domo was explaining a lot because I didn't spend so much time in Elden Ring and didn't understand the format entirely because I haven't played it. So I was more like there to, like, you know, entertain and make jokes. While in season 4, I already spent a lot of time and playing because I actually was planned in playing instead of commentating. And then I dipped out and was invited to commentate more. And there I would say we were able to like bounce that ball of like making jokes and being informative really well back and forth. So he was doing a joke, I was doing a joke, I was explaining something, he was explaining something. And I think that makes the commentary smooth and enjoying to listen to. I mean, it's not for everyone. I mean, some people do not enjoy my commentary because I don't know, they rather like it when it's only professional, no jokes, which is cool. And some others loved it. It's subjective thing at the end. But yeah, I think I had commentary. I commentated some other things with other people, and it was a little bit, I would say, a little bit rusty, just because maybe don't know each other too well, and then it's just like, you know, trying to. There's like this weird stage of being. It's like a little bit weird, you know what I mean? Like uncomfortable because people just don't know each other.
Of course.
And with Domo, it's been like, as you said, like years now that I know him and support all the events he's doing, and really enjoy the time. I'm telling you, but I gotta say, Zero Hit League. I was a player, right? But Hop set it up season 3 where every player is also commentating from time to time, right? With him, other matches. And there was one particular day where I was able to commentate 3 games with him back to back because no one else had time. And I had so much fun with Hop because I was more the person who was informative and he was more the person who was doing jokes, but I also did a lot of jokes and it was so comfortable. I think Hop is a brilliant person to commentate with because he's so capable of making you feel comfortable, I think, as a co-commentator. So I really enjoyed that time. That was great.
Yeah, I've not really had much chance. Spoken a bit about Bingo Brawl, especially the last couple of guests, because I've been on a bit of a run. I spoke with both Kata and Tom in the last couple of weeks, and so we've spoken quite a lot about Bingo Brawlers, DRL, other events. But the No Hit League, for people who may not be aware, as I haven't spoken about it much, is a event put on by the Happy Hop. I think it's sort of in the planning for this year.
I think it's planned for summer, maybe. I think he said something on stream, but I'm not sure.
Done other league events, competitive, runners going against each other, bit of fog randomizer, going through different sets of levels. Have they done DLC yet, or has that not been one yet?
No, not at all.
No.
The last league was actually right before the DLC came out, like right before. So DLC was not included yet,
So just going through segments and bosses and trying to do as many hitless as possible. But really cool, and there is VODs on his channel, so I do recommend. It was a very cool event, and excited what he's going to do next for it. So in the Bingo Bros event, you've been involved from the start, both playing and commentary. Do you have a favorite, both commentating and or playing season?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Dom innovates every season, making it new, fresh, different for each one. Do you have a preference towards?
My favorite playing was season 2. I actually just had this conversation in my own stream today because Domo introduced that for the first time randomized weapon types, right? Like axes with axes and whatnot. So it's like just for everyone who doesn't know how it works, it's basically a bingo in the base game back then, but wherever you were able to find, for example, the Uchi katana in that one catacomb in Limgrave, it could be any type of katana, right? It could have been Moonveil, it could have been whatever, and Nagakiba. Same with the other weapon categories. And that was so much fun to play because everyone who was involved was so new to it, like to bingo and to this whole weapon randomizer. So we were all like kind of new. There wasn't many strats. We practiced a lot, like 1 month every day. There were practice matches happening all the time. And I think that was peak, for me personally, peak bingo playing, because it was just so much fun. Because now it reached a point where like people write down how long it takes, how many seconds from one grace to the second, just to find like the best paths. And it goes like to a detail which it's great for the gameplay. Like for the perspective of how professional it gets, like maybe esport at some point, right? But for me, with like, who's getting like a lot of anxiety of this stuff, it's getting really stressful. So I really enjoyed not playing season 4 and commentating. Like I spent already a lot of time practicing, so I knew what's going on, and then commentating that was really, really cool because it was people were taking it really serious and know what they're doing and trying to be the as best as possible, right? So I think commentating wise, definitely the new season and playing season 2 because it was just so fresh and new.
Yeah, the skill level is so, both skill and knowledge level is so high in terms of potential. I spoke with Tom about this, like as a potential barrier to entry. If no one wants to like invite all the guests, then there is that issue unless he finds some like innovative way to circumvent that. But it does, like, it's mad the runs and seconds and how fast these are done nowadays, especially in season 4.
Yeah, definitely. I gotta say, so season 3 was the one with teams where it was 2 versus 2 on one board. And I was teamed up with Nuclear Pastor Tom, and I'm first of all absolutely glad that all of this happened, because since then me and Tom became really good friends. Like I didn't really knew him before season 2 and didn't really talk to him much, but like with season 3 we started hanging out a lot and doing a lot of content together, and I really appreciate him. He was also helping me a lot with the Randomania, with the past one, and I think I'm glad for season 3 that it happened, just mainly because of that. I hated playing it. God, it was so stressful. 4 people on a 5x5 board was so stressful for me. But I hope, I don't know what Domo's cooking. I have no clue. But if I could pick a next season, I would love a season where it's teams again, but where it's more like Formula 1, where, it's still 1 versus 1 bingo matches, and you win points for the team, though. I think that would be so cool, because then you still have this feeling of I have team partners, right? And I want to win for the team, but I also want to, it's not super, clustered with 4 people on one board. And it's just, I feel like it would bring all these seasons together in one season, which would be really cool, I feel like. But yeah, who knows what's going to happen.
I wanted to ask about community building, and the reason I bring that up as, first of all, when we spoke a few years ago, it was about Team Hitless, like community moderating and being a figure in that, and then since then building communities, or at least setting up spaces for communities, such as the bingo club, which is like separate from bingo brawlers, for people who want to get involved in Elden Ring bingo, as well as literally just recently the bounty club, which I've been checking out and has been pretty cool. And can touch on that a little bit, but I was interested in that community aspect. I'm not sure how I want to ask this, but is there something you look or want to do when setting up a community or building a community?
I think it's, so a good example is actually the bingo club, because right after season 3, there were already after season 2, but after season 3 of Bingo Brawlers, there were so many people in my personal Twitch chat that were like, dude, I wish I would like play bingo with someone. So there was so much interest. So I was like, you know what? Let's create exactly that, a room where people can come together and just play bingo together. Doesn't need to be a tournament whatsoever, just for fun. So on my personal server, I created a section, like, category of channels and voice channels, where just people can come together and play bingo with each other. And I also did like a tiny tournament just to engage for practicing and everything. And right after, I gave all of that to some people that played in bingo and said, hey, create a server, or like we created a server, right? Like a Discord server, and said, hey, from my personal server, I'm not handling bingo club anymore. Go over there into this server. This is not my personal one, and enjoy bingo with others. And that's how this just, bibbidi-bobbidi-boo bingo created for every type of player. By the way, I recommend for everyone who's interested into bingo, join the bingo club. It's from beginners to professionals. Everyone is in that Discord. So you can find always someone to play bingo there. And that's the thing, like there's an interest, so create a room for that interest. And so now with the Bounty Pub, this is a creation by me and Tom and me, like it was Tom's idea. And I also did like a bounty recently that we just smooshed everything together, and we're like, hey, let's create a room for people that love challenge, or maybe even never challenged one in their life before, but want to try it out. So we've creating now bounties that are usually bounties, are set up by content creators with like a prize pool, right? So for example, when the DLC came out, there was Distortion who made an RL1 speedrun percent, our remembrance percent, and with a huge prize pool of like $10,000, right? But on our bounty pub, we're just focusing on no money currently. Maybe in the future there will be some with money, but it's more focused on, hey, here are challenges. Let's do these challenges together. And that's I guess where it's mostly coming from. It's less about exposure or building a community. I feel like it's more, there is a community. Let's give this community room to evolve, I would say.
Just way I'm seeing, and obviously correct me if I'm wrong, it's like the bingo club was like, there was a need there, and all it was needed was like creating a good space for people to understand and giving them the resources to be able to sort it. And now going into this bounty, it's something cool that you both started, or a group, in order to let people check out. It's cool to get involved and able to go from there.
Oh, sorry, can you repeat the question?
I don't think it was a question. I think it was just settling something like good in my mind, just between the two from what you were saying.
Yeah, I think I just spaced out there for a second.
Yeah, that's no worries.
No, yeah, exactly. And I think now with the Bounty Pub, it's just we're making sure that every type of player is welcome. So like like people that spend a lot of time in Elden Ring and people that maybe never did a challenge run before. And I think it's going really well. I mean, we did our first 2 bounties in the past 2 weeks, and we had like 60 people doing the small bounty, where I think 90% never did a challenge run before, and also like I think 30 people that did the big bounty. And it just shows that people are interested and want to do this. They just need someone to create room for them, basically. Yeah.
I think from a player's perspective, because I've got tried these bounties, so maybe feedback, quote unquote. I think a really good aspect of what you've set up is that there is levels of participation. Like you can just get involved and you get a point as the point system. You can do this and you get a couple points, so you can go the extra next level. But it's like very low barrier of entry if someone just wants to try out, and they can get rewarded for that in the points in the way the Discord works. So I think that's a really good way of how it's been set up. Just to say, from my perspective at least, obviously everyone says, but I think it's great.
Thank you. Yeah, no, that was our idea, that people get rewarded for just trying it, like not even finishing it, just for trying. Like we had now, just to explain it, we had a bounty that was one-shotting as many bosses as possible in Elden Ring in 3 hours. And even if our main goal was like if you reach 10 bosses, then you get the most points out of it, like 3, I think, or 4, I can't remember. And the top 3 only, like with the most bosses, get more points out of it, right? But then we also had some lower goals. Like if you just do 5, you get 2 points. And if you just try it, that means maybe not even killing a single one, right? Then you just get already 1 point. And I feel like that's the good thing about it, that engages people just trying. And I think it's a good system too.
So if one game could be released tomorrow, either an announced, unannounced, a sequel or a remake that you've always wished or wanted, and could be released tomorrow, which one would it be?
A Banjo-Kazooie game, but like a new one. That would be my dream. I love Banjo-Kazooie, and like not a remastered, but like, or even remastered I would probably take, but like just a new Banjo-Kazooie would be amazing. Have you played Banjo? Do you know Banjo?
I know of the game. It wasn't one of my like growing up ones. I got crash over that one.
Yeah, it's like it's just like a 3D jump and run basically. And I grew up with it and everything, so I think that would be fire.
I didn't actually consider this, but I'm actually interested now if I go back to our last episode if the answer's the same, because that's one of the same questions they ask every guest. So it'd be interesting if that's the same answer as you answered back then.
Oh, wait, what did you ask that the last time?
I would have done, I imagine.
What did I?
That's what I'm interested in. No, I'd have to go back and check.
Oh, we need to check that. You need to check that. Let me know when you check that.
I will do. I'm going to adapt this question. The normal question I normally ask is one piece of advice for people new to Hitless or speedrunning or particular challenge. But I want to adapt this one for someone who, like, in experience has done these. And we spoke a little bit about it earlier, but say if someone wanted to create an event, maybe on a much more scale than you have done with the Randomania, but say in a different niche, a different set of games or something like that, if you could give one piece of advice for someone looking into it or starting steps, what would it be?
I think one would be, if you want to create something new, definitely just have fun with it. Like maybe with friends or whatsoever, just have fun with it. I think that's the most important, because then it's the most entertaining. I think the focus should be on what would be the most enjoyable to watch. And I think that's the best thing you can do. You can use like Discord or mirror boards to plan things, right? Maybe find like 1 or 2 people you can plan it together, because often like when we're alone, right, it's more, like what's the phrase with like a beehive, more brains, just like think better. So like having different thoughts from other people can always help to improve events like that. And if you want to do something like someone else did before, like for example a bingo event or whatsoever, it would be a good thing to maybe just ask that person, like like not as in like like, hey, can I do that? Am I allowed to do it? But more like as in, do you have any advice what I could do or whatsoever? I think that would be another good idea. So if anyone wants to do a random race event, maybe could hit me up and ask.
I think what adds to that is like, or add to what you're saying, is that don't just ask people who perhaps have done the event in the current game niche that you've done in, say if you're doing like a Minecraft event, and sometimes it can be worth asking someone in a separate event, like in Randomizer, saying if someone's looking to do a Minecraft Randomizer event, they're just as well asking someone who's done like a Elden Ring Randomizer event, or like in your case in different randomizers. Everyone's got experience setting up these events, or like there are similarities that are worth like just asking and getting advice from people who know the stuff.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And then I feel like if there might be people that like maybe don't want you to make an event similar to what they did, which is kind of fair, because we're all working hard on making these events. But me personally, I'm more like on a spot where I'm like I didn't invent random races, for example, so rather helping to create content is always nice, but people can enjoy then at the end. So yeah.
This one I'm going to adapt as well. So in the past 3 years since we last spoke, what would you say has been a highlight or most hyped or fond memory?
I mean, definitely me getting partnered, I think, is one of them. Since it was, I've been streaming since 2015 and I got partnered in 2023. So that's a huge thing. Thankfully, mostly to Elden Ring. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think the past few years I've been streaming so much that kind of everything blurs together, if that makes sense. Obviously the Randomania events were amazing, or the bingo events or the DLC release, but it's more like that whole thing I feel like is a memory of the year. But yeah, I mean I would say the biggest is definitely me getting partnered. That was a huge milestone.
Yeah, I saw just recently you had your 10-year anniversary stream as well, didn't you, over there?
Yeah, true. I totally forgot about that already. 10 years of I totally forgot. 10 years of streaming on Twitch already. I'm old.
I think best of the final question then is, what are the future plans of Zoodle?
I would definitely, besides the Randomania event we're planning, I hope that maybe someday I can manage to be full-time streaming. That would be keep up that plan. And other than that, it's just creating content that is fun for everyone to watch. So people can just, relax after their work days and have a nice time.
Lovely. And if people wanted to check you out, where would they be looking?
On Twitch, almost every day. I even have to force myself taking a day off actually right now. So almost every day on twitch.tv/Zoodle, or my YouTube, maybe future YouTube as well, which is also Zoodle, but just instead of with E, it's a 3. Yeah.
Sorted. Well, I super appreciate taking the time out for this again, Zoodle, with that time break, but I super appreciate it, man.
Dude, thank you for having me again. I'm glad that you reached out. It was really sweet of you.
No, it's no worries at all. It's great nattering again. That'll be it. So I hope everyone who's listening has had a great time of it, and hope everyone has a great rest of your day, even morning, depending on when you are listening, and we'll see you for the next episode.
Bye-bye.
If you enjoyed that conversation and want to hear more with amazing guests, be sure to head over to youtube.com/@nohitpodcast or wayofloci.com/nohitpodcast,